talk about Renature, which is the latest game from Wolfgang Kramer and Michael Kiesling. I'll let you give the stats.
So Michael Kiesling may have heard of from Azul, and Wolfgang Kramer, probably one of his most well-known games is El Grande, but we looked and they've done a lot of games together.
Tikal, Mexica, Torres, really, Princess of Florence.
Princess of Florence is a really good game.
Yeah, lots of
downforce. So Renature was published in 2020 by Capstone Games and by Deep Print Games. I don't know if I've heard of Deep Print before this one, but other than that, the artist is Dennis Lohansen. Now, as far as MSRP, I saw two different prices. So regular MSRP is $49.95, but on second markets, which you can look at on Board Game Geek, I've seen it as low as $33. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's brand new, so there's a lot of retailers that are selling it for less than MSRP.
So, but there you go.
Yeah. So this is basically a game that's based on dominoes. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the principal thing, but it's also, I guess you could call it worker placement in the sense that you're going to place objects from your board onto the board in different locations to score points. But it's got really these nice quality wooden dominoes. Unfortunately, they're not ivory, which is typical what you get for dominoes, but beggars can't be choosers. But these are pretty good quality wooden ones. Yeah, they're not cardboard like what you would get in King Domino or Queen Domino. So this is an upgrade from there.
And even though it's stickers,
it's not really. I mean, I don't know what that is. If I'd call it a sticker, if it was a sticker, it was heat transferred on.
Yeah, I think that's what it is because you can't peel it off.
You can feel it's a difference in texture. At least some of us can.
It's like glossy. It's really cool.
Because you're supposed to put them face down and mix them up, but we decided to use those handy dandy bags that we've gotten from. Well, that came with it. I guess we didn't put it in another one. Yeah, but we pulled them out of there, and if you feel the texture difference, but like half of us could feel it, and half of us couldn't. It's really weird. I didn't know there was people's sensitivity to fingers.
For the fingers built up or something.
Yeah,
but we got soft, supple hands.
Exactly, so. But Miranda was not able to feel it. That was kind of so she's more of a man than you or I are.
Right. I think it goes without saying.
Yeah. So we basically you've got these tiles that you're playing to try to lay against, and there's a river pattern across the board that you use to lay your tiles on. And each time you play, you can play one of these wooden figures from your board. I guess I'm going into gameplay a little more than we normally do, but it's a very simplistic game. We'll go over to get that more gameplay. As far as quality of pieces, like I said, the dominoes are really good. Everything's wood. We've got all these little trees and bushes are in wood, in either in your player color or in a neutral wood color. And then
got your cardboard.
You got cardboard for player boards. It's a thick, sturdy cardboard, very glossy though.
And then you got these little cloud tokens as well as bonus tokens that are placed on the board.
Yeah. So, what would you think as far as quality?
The cardboard is just okay. There's nothing really special about the cardboard, but I love the wooden dominoes, and I guess the wooden plants are not. I mean, they're certainly functional, and you can see what they do and what they're worth compared to your player board, but there's really nothing special about those either. But the dominoes are so nice. It really I think it ups it to another level. I'm going to give it at least an 8.
Yeah, I was thinking like an 8 as well. I mean, I think these are a little nicer than you do as far as they differentiate between grassy versus shrubs versus two different types of trees. And, I thought they were pretty neat. And then they got little flowers for scoring. And I thought that was pretty cool. And then you got just a wooden token for marking what the wild animal is. Technically, I guess all animals are wild in this, but only one can be wild at a time.
Right.
So yeah, I think an 8's a good score for this. As far as theme goes, it's obviously it's an animal and plant, wildlife theme, Renature, hence the name. So the theme is emblazoned on all of it, but it's really layered on.
I mean, absolutely.
You could put any kind of widgets in here, and it would work just fine. But it's a fun theme with all the animals, and the art is really pretty as far as
very good.
The drawings of all the animals and such. The clouds, it's kind of weird because the cloud's like a daisy. It also kind of looks like a cloud, but there's a flower in the middle of the
And it also
cloud.
looks like a cotton ball.
So the flowers all represent victory points in this
Right.
game. So why there's a flower growing in the cloud, I don't know, but
It's a very special flower.
that's right. So that it's interesting choices as far as the clouds go, but it goes with nature, I guess, too. The animals are pretty redundant as far as it, but you would expect that because the dominoes have to match in value,
Right.
so it'd be like 1 through 10 or whatever, but they've replaced them with animals. The board's pretty much just a river or creek side.
Yeah, it's a very thin strip of water
Yeah.
that runs through a grassy section, square,
Yeah.
that connects it. So,
Which then has open area for planting trees and
right.
forestation along the sides. So, I mean, thematically, it does what it should.
It works.
I mean, I think it's probably, I would say, like maybe an 8 on that as well. I don't think it's hugely thematic, but
I'd give it a little less, just because even though, I mean, it's gorgeous, but mechanically the theme doesn't push
Yeah.
mechanics at all. So, like you said, it could be anything. So, I think, although functional, that's why I'd give it a 7.
okay.
So,
yeah. All right, the rule book. Rule book is super simple. It's a very simple game, and they've got these color sections in the book, which are really nicely done as far as the playing the game. They've got like the different actions you take, and they've color coded it with each section, which is really cool. You don't see that a lot in a rule book. They've got all the plants. One thing that I don't like, which a lot of games do this, and I know it's because they want to cut down on cost, but for the fewer players you have, the more wooden pieces you get.
mm-hmm.
And they basically made it so that you can only play this game 2-player as white and black. And of course, I'm always blue. You can't play blue on 2-player
That's
version,
correct.
which is I wish they made it such that they had the wooden pieces. If there weren't that many extra pieces, it wouldn't cost that much more to throw in enough where you could play any color of your choice.
Now, would you still say that if the extra player pieces were in blue?
The extra player pieces are if you already had blue, you're
right. So instead of white and black, it was like blue and white, where the 2-player option.
I still don't like them when they limit.
Would you still bring that up as a?
I probably wouldn't care as much, but it's still to me limiting. It's like if you've got 4 colors in there, let people play all 4 colors of their choice. It's not that big of an extra expense.
And I don't think it's that big of a deal. I mean, if you enjoy the game, who cares?
Yeah.
Pick the color.
But
either way, I get that you feel the blue hate. So
yeah.
I get it.
So I mean, this is a very simplistic game. The rules are actually probably more in depth than you really need in this, but they're not bad, and they're very explanatory. And they have an overview on the back, which is really useful. We never needed it.
No, it took like less than maybe a turn for us to really just get it.
Yeah.
So
as far as the rules, I'm going to give it a 9. It was very functional, very easy to read.
I can totally agree with that.
Now the gameplay. So basically, this is very simplistic. Each turn, you're going to play a domino onto the board. And you're going to have an animal that it has to touch to, just like in dominoes, if you've played dominoes, you have to touch the value to a value that's existing on the board. Although there are 4 starting spaces where you can play any animal of your choice, as long as it doesn't violate a rule where it's touching another domino that would have caused it to not match.
And as far as which dominoes you can play, you get a starting amount, but you only have 3 revealed that only you can see. So from those 3, you then try and place a domino.
And that pool of dominoes determines the length of the game. You play 1 per turn, so it's going to last a number of turns unless you use some of the clouds, but we'll get to that. As far as placement, you only place on the creeks on the board, which I've got the board. I'll summon. Ooh, now you can see the board, and we're playing dominoes onto it. It's very lovely. So when you place the domino onto the board, the next thing you can do is take one of the wooden shrubberies or bushes or trees from your board and play it into the brown areas on the board, which are open land areas.
If it's open.
If it's open, it can't be occupied. but any space that's open, you can play one of
Right.
yours. If you play one that is of your color, it will have one significance. If you play a wooden one, it will have another. But no matter which color you play, you will get the points for the level of that shrubbery or bush or tree, along with anything of that level or less in the same brown area. So when you're playing, you'll strategically want to play something that allows you to score the most points by future plays.
And it doesn't matter whose pieces are in that area. Once you plant, it looks at all the plants.
Yes. So, and it doesn't, again, matter what color you play, because you're going to have some of your player color and some of the neutral wooden color on your board.
And that's important when we talk about the clouds.
Yes. So, after that, you score the points immediately that you get for placement. Subsequently, whenever you surround an area on the board of the brown area with dominoes, or get it to the point where there cannot be another domino placed to make the area, so if there's like one open spot where nothing can go as far as dominoes go, you score the area as a whole, and that's where the colors come important, because whoever has the most in their color in that region, as far as the point value, it's not the number of pieces, but the total value. They get the maximum of, there's 2 victory point numbers on each flower that is in the area. And you will get the most points. And if you have the second most in your color in the area, you get the bottom number. And then whoever's the one who surrounded it by playing their domino gets the token itself. And on the back is a victory point value, which is not, it turns out it wasn't as great as we thought.
I was hoping. I got quite a few in one game, and it didn't net me enough to where I could win the game. So, but it's interesting as far as strategy goes, because you could work to control it and then just not worry about it, because that's going to score you the most points. But then if someone happens to surround it, you might get a few bonus points on top of that.
Yeah. So the key is in the game is you want to try to get in as many areas as you can into the scoring, which is similar to what you would get like in El Grande. I mean, you try to spread yourself out and get into as much points as possible. And then, they have differing sizes of land masses in here that are where you can build, and that's where you can score more points the larger. But you have to get further across the board to get the bigger point values. So it's all about how do you place your dominoes, and then there is always a wild creature in the game. Starting out, you always start with the butterflies, you're wild, but during the course of the game, you can change what the wild is by playing these clouds. That's one of the many purposes of these clouds. You start the game with 6 of the clouds, and then you can use 2 to change the animal to whatever animal you want. These do not replenish. Once you've used them, they're gone. The only way to replenish them is there's going to be a smattering of them on the board if you play on
5 clouds.
I think
there's 2, and then, or maybe 4.
There's, I think, 4 different locations. And maybe it is 5.
I thought there was 5.
Maybe 5. Because one spot has 2, and then the others only have 1.
And that's it.
That's it. And they're on the far end of the board, so you aren't going to get them back quickly. So you got to strategically choose when you're going to use them. You can use them, like I said, to pay 2 to move the animal for the wild, which is going to be really important because you draw blindly what you're going to get as far as your animals, and you may find there's no place you can attach to. And that, especially late in the game, you can run into that scenario very easily. The other actions you can take, you can pay 3 of them to take a back-to-back turn, which that will actually shorten potentially the game because you don't get more tiles. You're still going to have the same pool based on the player count of how many tiles you get.
Right, so if everybody did that action, it would shorten the game. Yeah. But otherwise, and I think I was the only one that did that action.
Yeah. But then somehow you still ended up having the same number of turns, so he must have skipped you somewhere.
Right.
So then the other thing you can do with it, which is also very valuable, is you can use the clouds to pay to retrieve one of your planted trees, which can be really useful, especially if you pull in one of the high value ones and then play it again, because you'll get, the bigger the tree, the more you're going to have scoring potential if you're in a big area.
But the key to do that is you have to have a space open.
Yes.
So if you don't have that space open, which is where I made a mistake earlier in the game, because our first playthrough, I thought I'd be really clever, and I thought, well, Randy placed 2, but he didn't surround it, so I was going to go in and bounce one of the tan ones because that's not specific to a player. so anyone can bounce
It
it.
doesn't matter who played that wooden
Right.
piece.
Now I couldn't bounce his for blue, and only I could bounce mine that was black. But anyone can bounce the tan. So I thought, man, I'd bounce the tan one back and put a bigger plant, and then gain control and score off of it. Woohoo! But no, I didn't have any open spots, so I couldn't do it.
Yeah, so that's what you get for trying to.
That's why I get for trying to think, points. Or just trying to think.
Yeah, well, really, screwing me out of points is always a bad idea.
Yeah, whatever.
So, really, that's pretty much all there is to the game.
Pretty much it. But the key to scoring, as Randy was saying, is that it has to be equal or less when you place a plant. So, like, for example, you got grass at 1, shrub at 2, like a fern a pine tree at 3 with a larger tree, maybe an oak, whatever, at 4 points. So you could potentially score a bunch of points in the larger land masses by placing a larger tree.
I was enjoying your botany lesson.
So
okay.
You're welcome.
You're such an arborist. So basically, the only other thing is in-game scoring.
Mm-hmm.
The in-game scoring is where we're going to place, basically once all the tiles have been placed, we're going to evaluate all the areas that didn't score because they didn't get surrounded during the course of the game. No one will get the bonus for taking the tile.
So if there's the token in there, it just goes away.
But you still get the first place and second place for who has the most in the area.
So you would score the 3 and the 1, but not the one on the back.
And then each cloud that you did not use during the game that you still got in your possession is worth 1 victory point.
Right.
And then any wooden pieces you still have on your board that you never got to play
points
are subtracted based upon the value from 1 to 4 that they represent.
Right.
And that's the in-game score. That's all there is to the game. You just learned how to play the game right there. It's very simple, but
easy to teach, easy to play.
Yeah, but it is actually a lot more strategic than it sounds once you actually start playing.
Right.
Because you can block people with your placement. If you really are sneaky about it, you can keep track of how many of the animals, because I'm assuming there's
probably a set
even
number
distribution of the tiles. So you can probably know, nobody's going to have this animal, but I'm not nearly that involved in the game.
Nor am I. But and like I said, a little bit of strategy in being able to recall the tan plants and either replay those or your own color potentially. So there's that depth. And then I listened to some other people's reviews and read them, and they felt there was quite a bit of strategy in changing the wild animal, like being able to change that at the right time where it benefit you, but it would not benefit someone else.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, there was times where I had all my tiles had one animal the same on it, and it was like, okay, well, it'd be really useful for that to be wild right now.
Right.
So I could certainly see that. And if I have 3 that are with the same, and there's several on the board, then odds are you guys don't have them. So from that standpoint, yeah, I can see that being strategic. And then, of course, the tree planting is really strategic as far as timing when you're going to play your bigger ones, because you can escalate it. If you play the small ones first, then you're going to get the maximum points by going up and growing the larger ones after. And if somebody else plays a bigger one, you can jump in and play your bigger one and get their points and your points when you play.
And the timing is probably the key then, because you're trying to get all your plants before the end of the game.
Yeah.
And so my first game, I scored a lot of negative points because I didn't get all my plants out.
Yeah.
But then the second game that we played, I got everything out, but still lost.
Yeah. And we also found there's some strategy as far as placement of your things. Because you can, if you look at how the tiles are played on the board, depending on which side people have chosen to play, you could strategically block people with your tile placement such that they can't jump into your area that you're trying to score. So there's a lot of ways. And if you happen to be the only person in an area, we didn't mention this, when you're scoring the area, you get both the top and the bottom points. But contrary-wise, if you tie for the number, nobody gets points, which is that's like a very harsh penalty.
Yeah,
normally you add the 2, it's a divide.
And that only happened the one time. I think that you and Miranda scored
no, you and I once.
Yeah, you and I
had a tie and they bounced and didn't get anything.
And Miranda got second place, so she got scored.
Yeah,
but we didn't get anything.
Yeah, so it can be pretty brutal on that. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more strategy in this game than it looks like from just simple placement. And I gotta say, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to when I first saw it. It's like, it's dominoes. It's not going to be that much to it. But, I have faith, in Michael Kiesling, because he's done really good at Azul games. And I knew the name Wolfgang Kramer, but I didn't know. But El Grande is really high up on my favorites list.
Mine too.
And so Princes of Florence as well. So When I found out that he made that, like, it made perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
The why I enjoyed this game as much as I did.
It's a great abstract game. So, I mean, if you like games like Othello, things like that, you would like this game because it's another game that's easy to learn. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot more to it than what you would think.
And it's one that we can teach to Miranda's family.
Sure.
They're going to enjoy it, and we don't have to.
And I think kids could pick up on it pretty quick.
I
Maybe
think so
not
too.
so much the subtleties of scoring, but they would have a lot of fun playing the tiles, matching animal to animal.
Yeah, I think Sarah, when she's maybe, I don't know if she would get it right now, but she certainly would enjoy playing the tiles. I don't know if she would get the concept of the trees and everything yet, but I think that she will enjoy this one a lot. So, and it's got the cute animals.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I really think that this one, as far as game quality, I think this is an 8 for me. It's a solid 8.
I agree. It's a solid 8.
Yeah. So I don't really have much more to say about this game.
Nor I. It's a good game.
Straightforward.
We'll definitely play it again, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah. So that's our assessment of Renature, and hopefully you enjoyed it, and you'll come back and visit us again in our home. We got lots of videos out there to check out. Please just click the
notifications, the like, and make any comments.
Ring the bell.
And if there's a game out there you think that we would like or you want us to talk about, and please let us know.
Yeah, you can let us know in the comments. You can let us know we're on Facebook. We have our own page. We got YouTube, or obviously YouTube. We've got Rumble. We're on Locals. We've got our own webpage, www.legendsofnerdvana.com, which is still in the works. We've got lots of different avenues to reach us, and please follow along. We're going to be out here doing these videos for quite some time. We got to get through 3,000 games. So.
In counting.
Well, we're growing. We're still growing.
All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the video and have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.